Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Miss Evan. This week we are making possibly the quickest dish that we have done so far. We're going to make some breaded fish fingers and then we're going to oven bake them. Now everyone loves fish and chips, of course. It doesn't have to just be a treat, it could be as simple as a weekend or a weekday meal, as long as we're making it really nutritional and healthy as well. I'm going to show you not only how to make your breaded fish fingers, but also how to make some sweet potato fries to go alongside. These are a great option because of course they count towards our 5 a day. They are higher in fibre than conventional potatoes, not to mention the fact that they're just deliciously sweet and a great accompaniment, and they're so easy to make. I think you're going to really like them too. So let's get ready for practical, or mise en place. Let's wash our hands, put our hair up, get an apron on, ready half a bowl of hot soapy water, sanitise our surfaces and collect our equipment. Let's go through the ingredients now. To start with, we're obviously going to need our fish. Now I have chosen some hake fillets. You'll want a fairly mild, probably a white fish, and if you can find it, if you can source it, getting one which is MSC or ASC certified is a really nice idea. This ensures that they are caught in a more sustainable way, because often fishing involves bycatch, so by doing this you are making a real difference. You'll want at least 2 fillets for this dish, but of course if you're making a meal for your family, you might want to make 1 portion for each person. You will need 50 grams of flour and 3 slices of stale wholemeal or seeded bread. So by using wholemeal bread, of course, we're increasing our fibre content, which is really important. Now, when we're in school, we will have access to a food processor, so we can use this bread. If we don't have access to a food processor because we're making this dish at home, then we could substitute for some store-bought breadcrumbs instead, which are ready-made and obviously last a good long while in the cupboard. The reason that your bread needs to be stale is because we are going to blitz it in the food processor. If it's not stale, if you haven't left it out overnight, which is what I did for these 3 slices, then what you could do is you could just toast them in the toaster on the lowest setting just to dry it out. You will also need 2 eggs, and then we'll want a little bit of flavouring. So a tablespoon, you could choose dill, which obviously is a great accompaniment to go with fish. Or perhaps you might have some parsley, or if you don't have either of those, some mixed herbs will do. And we'll want a pinch of salt and pepper. And then optionally, if you want to add an extra layer of crunch to your homemade breadcrumbs, you could add a few oats, or I'm going to add some extra seeds as well. So here is my lovely little fillet, and we're ready to cut it into little finger slices. We're looking for about 2 centimetres wide. Try and obviously estimate by actually sort of thinking about it as fractions, because what you don't want to do is cut one and then have one really tiny one. So it might be worth doing them maybe in half and then in half again. Depends on the size of the fillet, but those are about 2 centimetres wide each. There we go, super. And it really is that simple. It's just going to cut all your fillets up. So what I need to do is just remove the crusts, only they don't often tend to blitz so well. Then I'm just going to break my stale bread into smaller pieces just to pop in the food processor. Now obviously I only have a very dinky food processor at home, so I'm just going to do 1 slice at a time. Obviously at school we'll have nice big ones, you can just put it all in at once. Regardless, when we have our lid, it has a little catch, and we need to make sure that the container is in and down and clicked into place, and then the same for the lid. So pop it round, turn it until it clicks, like so. Then you can use the dial or button, whichever you have access to, and then you're just going to blitz it. Until you have some beautiful fine breadcrumbs, which you can then pop into your bowl, ready for the next stage. Next I need to crack my eggs. So I'm going to hold it in my non-dominant hand, I'm right-handed, my left. I'm going to take a knife, I'm going to use the back of the knife, holding it over my container where I'm going to keep my eggs, and one good hit, like so. We don't want to hit it more than once really, because then little pieces of shell start to break up, and that's how you get shell in your food. So there's one and two. So just getting your thumbs in, just cracking open the egg. There we go, and then that can go in our compost. Now I'm just going to whisk it up with my fork or with a balloon whisk. I'm going to use a rotational action with my wrist, so the fork is sort of going round and round and up and down at the same time, and angling it like so. There we go. Now I'm going to pop it in my plate or my bowl. So you can see I have everything laid out to complete my fish fillets. So you want to have fairly large either bowls or plates, deep plates, in order to receive everything, otherwise the fillets won't have enough space. And I've got my tray to receive them ready to go in the oven. I need to just oil the baking tray with just a little bit of oil just to begin with. There we go. And I could use a paper towel or just my fingers and just rub it around. With my tablespoon measure, I'm going to add my dill into my flour. There we go, pop that in. And then I also want a generous pinch of salt and pepper in there as well. And mix that all around. Okay, now here comes the fun part, but I'm going to recommend that you keep one hand dry and one hand wet. By that I mean we don't want to be dipping our fingers into like the flour and then the egg, for instance, and vice versa. Otherwise we're going to end up with sticky messes all over the end of our fingertips. Take a fillet, rub it in the flour, get it in there, shake off the excess, dip it in the egg, and then place into our breadcrumbs. Now swap to our dry hand and get all those breadcrumbs coated all over the top. There we go. And then place in our baking tray. And now we can do that for the rest. Alrighty, now for the sweet potatoes. You'll want to approximate for about one small-ish sweet potato or per person, or one large one for about 2 people. You can choose to peel your sweet potatoes or not, as you choose. You do need to make sure that you give it a good scrub if you're going to eat the skin. It's completely personal preference. And I'm just going to peel them into my bits bowl. So I've got one with skin that I've cleaned and one without. For the one with the skin, I do just want to top and tail it, just remove any bits that are less appetising. There we go, just take off the top and bottom usually. There we go. Now in order to chop them, this time I'm actually using my knife that I tend to use when I cook at home, my sentoku knife. Obviously you can use your vegetable knife, or the one that you are comfortable using, or the one that your parents might allow you to use. But to show you how easy this can be when you become a more proficient chef, I want to actually show you what it's like using a big chef's knife or sentoku knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to approximate for sort of wedge size, so probably about half all the way down. In half again. I'm going to put these into quarters and the claw, and then into big chunky sticks like that. And that's how easy and quick that was. That took me less than 2 minutes. Now I'm going to add some flavour in order to get these little guys cooking. So for my flavourings, I'm first going to add some oil. I always use olive oil or coconut oil. I'm just going to put a sprinkle over the top. You want about 2 to 3 tablespoons equivalent. Then I'm going to add some smoked paprika. This is what absolutely makes sweet potato chips. Now if you don't have smoked paprika, just regular paprika will do, or if you don't have paprika at all, that's okay. Flavour it as you wish, but I would recommend getting some of this. I'm also going to add a little shake of rosemary, because rosemary goes really well with all types of potatoes. And we're going to need some salt as well for flavour and to draw the moisture out of these potatoes. I like to use a combination of a little bit of table salt and a little bit of sea salt, which is really coarse. So I'm going to sprinkle it into my hand first of all, because you don't want to go crazy. There we go, generous pinch of that over the top. And then a little shake of sea salt. Now I'm just going to mix them all up with my fingers. This is the fun bit. You want to get them all evenly coated with the oil and combine those flavourings in together and then spread them out. Now you want the biggest baking tray that you have available, because you want space in between each individual piece, otherwise the heat can't circulate. If they're all bunched in, they'll just get really steamed and sort of kind of stay a bit soggy. You'll want to cook them in the oven for at 200 for about 30 to 35 minutes. These look fabulous. I'm really looking forward to having these with my sweet potato chips. I'm also going to have some minted peas and some grilled courgette. So make sure that you're having a good side of veggies. I hope you enjoyed making that with me. I'll see you next time.